What are you saying, Jess? We're going to come to Carefree Lewis in a minute to defend these club, maybe. But what are you saying? Are Chelsea being immoral? Are they ruining football with their spending?
Are they ruining football? No. Like, teams have always come out of nowhere with new. You have to just look at like football in general. Like, I just think the prices are going up because the Premier League is better than ever. It's more exciting than ever. Everybody wants to play there, and so everything is going up. Yesterday's price is no longer today's price, and so it just is what it is. Like, I don't see the they're ruining football thing. They're clearly trying to reconstruct an entire squad in a very small amount of time, and that takes a lot of money, and Chelsea are not going to just buy any Joe Blows. They're going to try to buy the best possible players that they can bring in. And so I think people are maybe overreacting a little bit in terms of, are Chelsea doing something wrong? No, they're not. Like, as long as they're not bending the rules, they found a loophole in terms of, being able to spread payments out and giving players long contracts, blah blah blah. Like, any smart team looks for loopholes where they can get a little bit of an advantage. It's not cheating, it's just life. Good business people do that. So I just think people have to just get real. Like, these teams, like at the top of the table, have lots of money and they're going to continue to spend. And as long as the Premier League is the greatest league and everybody wants to come there, the price is just going to continue to go up. The fees are going to go up, and sink or swim. Either your club keeps up or you get left behind. I don't see really the issue with what Chelsea are doing. I think a lot of people want Chelsea. I would think a lot of people would want what Chelsea are getting right now, to be honest. I just think people are just jealous. Like, that's what I think, to be honest.
Just when you say people, like, you have to keep up or like move on, like, it's impossible for teams to keep up, and that's where the problem comes. Is like mainly not for Premier League teams. I feel like Premier League teams, there's a few Premier League teams that can keep up, but when you look European football wise, Chelsea spent more than the whole of Europe. That is an issue. I don't feel like a team should be able to spend more than everyone else in the whole of Europe. That's 100%.
So then what we start to talk about is, then you start to talk about caps. And then you start then that's where closed leagues come in. And then we start building into American models. And that's not what people want.
Again, that's not, but again, that's, as you said, they're just using a loophole. I don't think it's an issue directly with Chelsea. I think it's more of an issue that the UK gets a lot more freedom that other clubs don't get. So then we can go out there and just poach players from everyone else, pay these high fees. Chelsea are taking advantage of it. But then it does take away a bit from, everyone wants football to be a fair game. We all know that some teams are going to have more money than others. Some are going to spend more than others. But when Chelsea are spending as much as they are, it's going to get to a point, just like with Man City, where it's going to be impossible to keep up. And they're going to overtake teams. And teams aren't going to be happy because they're investing a lot of money that no one else can invest. And they're using funds which no one else will have the advantage to invest like that.
Let me just
the only problem that I think with their spending is, if they'd done it across 2-3 seasons, 600 million, no one would bat an eye. It wouldn't be surprising. But like you said, they've done it in such a short amount of time. It's 2 windows. They've spent more than pretty much the Premier League's done. Like, that's a whole Premier League window in January, and summer's like 600 million. They've done that in 2 windows just themselves. So it is a bit like, I think that some things need to change, but you can't blame Chelsea for it happening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, everybody really down the football pyramid they do benefit from clubs like Chelsea and Man City spending this money. They do, because TV rights, all that kind of stuff goes up because people want to see the best players in the world playing in this league. And it just makes the Premier League more attractive. So like when we were talking about the Super League situation, people didn't want it, right? But the reality is like, if you only want the big teams to do things against the big teams and spend money in their own box, then people don't get the benefits of having these big teams in the league. So I think Premier League wise, everybody benefits from the best players in the world playing in this league, and Chelsea and Man United and Man City and Tottenham and Arsenal spending money, because it all trickles down. But the other leagues, I'm not even worried about them. And I don't know why you're worried about them either, because as a Tottenham fan, you're in Champions League. I would want those teams to be as weak as possible so I can win. So I don't know why, like, I don't care about that.
Like,
I don't care.
You know what, George?
There's nothing going to change it. Nothing's going to change it.
The only reason La Liga and that are moaning is, I've been saying this for about 10 years. The Premier League is the best league in the world. forget what you think technically is better. Oh, the football there is better. The fans sound better there. The fact that the majority of the world outside of England wants to watch the Premier League over other nations' leagues is something we should celebrate. The likes of Chelsea, the likes of Man United, the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, the big boys, and I don't mean this rudely to the smaller clubs in England, but the top six are the reason over the past few decades we've become so big. You then get new owners that come in that clear your debt, and they're able to spend like this. Chelsea, if Spurs got a new owner tomorrow, if the Qataris took over Spurs tomorrow, the whole club, they bought the whole of you, cleared all your stadium debt, and invested money into your club, got you brand new sponsors, and knew that over the next 5 to 10 years, your revenues would double because of their connections in the world. I don't think you personally would have any issue with over two seasons, your club spending 800, 900 million, £1 billion on
And that's
players.
what I said, Terry, though. My problem isn't to do with Chelsea. I think if we had similar rules in the Premier League, like we did in La Liga, Bundesliga do, where they have caps and you have to, it literally affects how much money your club makes is how much you can spend on wages, like other sports do. Then I feel like, yeah, then it's fine.
That's coming in though. But that's coming in. The new FFP rules are going to be based on you can only spend up to 75% of your turnover on players.
That's my point. So that makes sense. And that's to prevent teams like Chelsea doing what they want. But that's my point is the problem isn't with Chelsea. The problem is that the FA have taken so long and financial fair play to put this in place in England because we've taken advantage of it for so long. And now that it's going to come in place, you'll see Chelsea not being able to do it. And
I don't even think you guys have. The problem is Chelsea have done it such
so, Lewis, your club makes one of the least amount from like stadium income and these types of things. So you wouldn't have the advantage that some of the other clubs do to spend that amount. So then that's my point, is that you're not bringing in that much money, but the fact you can spend so much is where it becomes an issue.
Yeah, but that's also partly because we were left debt-free by Roman. That's not really our fault. Roman put us in that sort of situation.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like I'm looking at it and it's like,
Kaz,
cool.
You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm looking at it and you guys are saying, you know, like Chelsea can't, obviously their stadium can't bring in as much kind of revenue as other kind of teams because of the stadium, right? Then what about those teams that can bring in those revenues? There's going to be a disparity in that then as well, because a Fulham doesn't bring in as much as a Brentford or do I mean, or vice versa as they do. So they won't be able to necessarily compete because they won't be able to go and spend as much as they're turning over. I don't think that's a model that necessarily works. I think there'll always be a disparity in terms of who can spend more and who doesn't. Whether it's the owners have a lot of money and they can spend within a certain, or they use a loophole, or whether they're bringing in more revenue. Do you know what I mean? Because there is going to be a disparity. It's just the way it works when you've got money.
JJ, instead of them being able to invest all this money in players, they would have to invest in the club, in a new stadium, so they can bring more money in. They would have to invest in the infrastructure of the club in order to bring more money in, so they can spend more on players. It makes more sense. That's more of a it's more of like an order of how it should work. That's how you're supposed to. You invest in the club and you get more back. They're not investing in the club. They're just putting money on players, spending as much as they can on players because, as you said,
is that not investment in the club though? Is that not investment in the club?
I don't get with this FFP stuff is that it's not Chelsea's fault that they found loopholes in this situation and they just took advantage of it. If anything, we should just be blaming UEFA, FA, and the people that didn't look into that could happen. FFP is a joke, anyways, man. It's no point hating on Chelsea, man. They done what they done, man.
Why were we the only club that figured out to sign everyone on 8-year contracts? And that was the one owner who everyone said was clueless and didn't know what he was doing coming into the role.
He came in and changed it. The question I've got for you, Lewis, do you feel like, how good do you think the spending has been? So in terms of the quality of players, how excited are you about the next stage of Chelsea's sort of rebirth under Todd Bowley and Graham Potter?
Oh, I am so excited. So excited. To the point where I don't even care what really happens in this season, because we are going again in the summer as well, by the way, and we're probably going to spend the same amount. Maybe more, maybe less, I don't know, but somewhere around that amount. And you have heard me say this all season, whether it's on my streams, whether it's been on this channel or other channels. I've said that this squad has been overdue a rebuild for years. I thought it'd be a 2-year process, a 3-year process. We've done 2 to 3 windows worth of work in one. The players that we've already signed were already hitting the ground running. Badiashile has come in, transformed our defense. We've had 2 clean sheets on the bounce. Mudryk, Felix moonwalked into our lineup and have instantly become our 2 best attackers. Enzo Fernandez, like, that is the sort of midfield profile that we have been screaming out for ages, and we haven't even signed the midfielder since 2019. And there's more to come in. There's going to be outgoings as well, so we're not just going to be hoarding players and keeping deadwood. They're going to be gone in the summer too. I think by next season, Chelsea are going to have a very serious squad. I don't care about this season, wherever we finish, whatever. I still just want my 11 points, and then I'm signing out for the rest of the season, and then it's just all based on progress. But the way we're moving now, I haven't felt this excited for Chelsea in years, because we actually have technical directors. We're actually scouting players. We're not just getting flavor of the month type signings without ignoring what the manager wants. The manager now has involvement in it too. We look like we're being run really well. And even when it comes to negotiations, we went into a situation with Rui Costa where he was just flat out refusing to sell Enzo Fernandez. And I didn't even think we'd get the deal across the line. We managed to do it with a 6-stage installment plan, and the first installment doesn't even go to them, and we're paying them 14 million a year, basically. Every single thing that I'm seeing from Chelsea is looking in a positive direction. Enzo Fernandez is apparently making less than Jorginho's making, was originally making at Chelsea. It's ridiculous, the moves that they're making. So yeah, to Todd Bowley, to the board, any doubt is just been thrown straight out the window. And yeah, I am very excited for the next stage under Graham Potter. And
can't wait for you to fail, man.
You'll be waiting for a long time, my friends. You'll be waiting.
What's funny about this though is, like, even though I'll say, like, I don't, think that there's anything wrong with what Chelsea's doing, the one thing that I don't really understand is, like, I mean, you're saying that you're being ran perfectly and you're ran good and all this kind of stuff. I don't really understand, like, all the praise for just spending a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, going to Benfica and giving them 120 million for a player that they bought for 10 million isn't really, like, this great business. Like, you're just spending money. And, like, from my perspective, I think there is a little ways to go to see whether or not this stuff works out and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, but, like, you're just spending a shit ton of money on players that aren't really worth that amount. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to really go up to somebody and say, this is a player that's probably worth like 40 million. Let me, like, triple that.
I think for me, it's the fact that they did so much in the space of a month. The instant impacts that I've seen from all of those players, and the fact that they said that they were going to do this, we didn't believe them, and then they overstated everybody's expectations. So that's why.
When you say instant impact, Lewis, hasn't Felix just played 2 games?
He's just played 60 minutes, but you've seen how crap our attack's been this season. Sorry, like, he's come in and he's instantly become our best attacker without barely any tactical understanding.
Well, that's my point, Lewis. Like, your level was here. For these players to come in and be the best is because your level was so low. It still doesn't take you.
Oh yeah, we're starving. We're starving, 100%. Malnourished, but hey, it's good to see some quality attackers for the first time in ages.
I hear that.